Today we're going to take a look at one solution, no solution, and infinite solutions. This is day 1 of lesson 6 in unit 3. When will you teach this lesson? Let's take a look at the big picture to find out. If you notice here, this is only for Math 7 Accelerated. It's in unit 3 during the second 9 weeks. And once again, this is going to be day 1 of a 2-day lesson. So if you want to know about standards, helpful teacher tips, and presentation strategies, we can take a look at the scope and sequence. One thing I'd like to emphasize, this is once again a Math 7 Accelerated Standard number 21, and this is the part you want to focus on. Determine whether linear equations in one variable have one solution, no solutions, or infinitely many solutions in the form of. So we're going to focus on x equals A equals A, or A equals B, where A and B are different numbers. Okay, the teacher notes for this, you want to focus on that students should make connections between the format of the equation, once each side has been simplified, and the number of solutions, and also how to make copies for the first 2 and next 2 pages so that it creates the pamphlet and the booklet. So, what about those presentation strategies? What's nice about this lesson is that it lends itself to movement. So if you notice here on the 4th bullet, the groups will do a 2 stay and 2 stray activity where they'll be able to collaborate with each other. And also, for number 6, they'll work independently and then vote with their feet. So both of these parts of the lesson lend themselves to students being able to get up and move around. Okay, so a quick look at the lesson for day 1. These 2 pages make up the pamphlet. These 2 make up the booklet. And today we're going to focus on this one page in the video. So this first example that the students will do, and you'll lead them in the discussion, is this is going to be just like the equations that they solved on the previous day, where they'll have one solution. So this shouldn't be anything tricky at all. It'll just be straightforward and reminding them that this is what we did yesterday. Next, for infinite solutions, even though you can go through and continue solving, I think it's a good idea to stop right here and point out the fact that what's in the red box here matches up to the scale that's below it on your page, and talk to the kids about what number would make this true. Now, I would throw out some numbers that I've already came up with. And so, for example, if I plug in 6 for the values of x, I'll get 2 times 6 is 12, plus 3 is 15. I'd get the same thing on this side. Okay, but maybe that was just a lucky guess. So I'm going to throw another number, 27. 27 times 2 is 54, plus 3 more give me 57. Same thing on this side. Let's go big. What about 100? 2 times 100 gives me 200, plus 3, 203. I would get that on both sides. But maybe they might be convinced that you just came up with those numbers and those numbers just happened to work. So at this point, I think it would be fun to let them choose their birth date or some random number that they would like to plug in. And then after this, have a discussion. It's important for them to understand no matter what number is plugged in, it will always give the same value on both sides. That's where you want to guide the discussion to. Once you do that, then you can go ahead and finish solving the equation. And remember in the standard how A equals A. So that's where they're going to eventually get to. Some students might learn to start spotting this right here and know that it's infinite solutions at this point, but we want them to take them through until they get to the A equals A. So next, for no solution, So as they go through and they solve, if you notice that once we get to this point, this is represented on the scale. And so we want to talk about what number could you plug in to make these two balance. And so as they start trying numbers and they're kind of thinking about it, I would let them turn to an elbow partner and have a discussion of there are no numbers, and let them really think about why. Obviously, if I have 2 times a number and I add 3, or 2 times a number and I add 1, I'm going to get a different number every single time. And so there's no possible solution. There's no number that I can plug in that would make this scale balanced. But let them have that discourse, let them have that discussion as to why. And then we continue. And down here at the bottom, I have 3, and I always write does not equal 1, so this reminds me, where A and B are 2 different numbers. Now, just a sneak peek at day 2. In case you've never done any kind of activity like this, this is the create a face portion of this lesson. This is done on day 2. And so what will happen is that the students will go through and work each problem out. This is number 1 worked out. And as you can see here, x equals -3. And so I go through and find my solution. So if x equals -3, on my face that I have here at the bottom of the second page, I'll draw an open mouth smile. Cheese. Okay, and as they continue to work through the worksheet, they'll continue, and it's almost self-checking because they can see if their answer's not there, then they'll know that they did something wrong and they can go back and self-check and self-correct. So this is an example of the answer key. Everyone's will look a little different, but they'll all have similar features.